The crew of the Dolly remained on board even as explosives were used to destroy part of the key bridge on its hull. As a controlled explosion rocked the Dolly on Monday, nearly 24 sailors remained on board, below deck in the massive ship's hull. The simultaneous blasts sent pieces of Baltimore's once iconic Francis Scott Key Bridge into the dark waters of Maryland's Patapsco River. 7 weeks after its collapse left 6 people on the bridge dead and the Dolly marooned. Authorities, and the crew, hope that the demolition will mark the beginning of the end of a long process that has left the 21 men on board trapped and cut off from the world, thousands of miles from their homes. But for now, it remains unclear when they will be able to return home. The Dolly, a 948 feet (289 meters) container ship, was at the start of a 27-day journey from Baltimore to Sri Lanka when it struck the Francis Scott Key Bridge, sending thousands of tons of steel and cement into the Patapsco. It left the ship stranded under a massive expanse of shredded metal. A preliminary NTSB report found that 2 electrical blackouts disabled equipment ahead of the incident, and noted that the ship lost power twice in the 10 hours leading up to the crash. The crew, made up of 20 Indians and a Sri Lankan national, has been unable to disembark because of visa restrictions, a lack of required shore passes and parallel ongoing investigations by the National Transportation Safety Board (NTSB) and FBI. On Monday, the crew remained on board even as authorities used small explosive charges to deliberately cut an expanse of the bridge lying on the ship's bow. Ahead of the controlled demolition, U.S. Coast Guard Admiral Shannon Gilreath said that the crew would remain below deck with a fire crew at the ready. They're part of the ship. They are necessary to keep the ship staffed and operational, Admiral Gilreath said. They're the best responders on board the ship themselves. While the ship is likely to be refloated this week, it remains unclear when it will be able to make the 2 nautical mile (3.7 kilometers) journey to port. Among those who have been in touch with the crew is Joshua Messick, executive director of the Baltimore International Seafarers Center, a nonprofit organization that works to protect the rights of mariners. According to Mr. Messick, the crew has been left largely without communication with the outside world for a couple of weeks, after their mobile phones were confiscated by the FBI as part of the investigation. They can't do any online banking. They can't pay their bills at home. They don't have any of their data or anyone's contact information, so they're really isolated right now, Mr. Messick said. They just can't reach out to the folks they need to, or even look at pictures of their children before they go to sleep. It's really a sad situation. The plight of the sailors also attracted the attention of the 2 unions representing them, the Singapore Maritime Officers Union and the Singapore Organization of Seamen. In a joint statement on the 11th of May, the union said that morale has understandably dipped, driven by unfounded fear of personal criminal liability and emotional distress. The statement also called for the swift return of the crew's phones, noting that losing communication with family members is causing significant hardship for crew members with young children at home.